In a press conference which just concluded a few minutes ago by the Ministry of External Affairs, they have categorically mentioned how they have provided a lot of evidence to Canada about the whole incident but have received nothing in return. They also said how the allegations by India are politically driven. Pertaining to the conflict, a lot of questions have been raised about the trade deals that there are between India and Canada. Questions constantly are of course put up about what would be India's next step for dealing with a country like Canada. There are some questions that we wish to answer in this particular broadcast with our guests. Joining us on the show is Ambassador Veena Sikri, former diplomat. Ambassador Pradeep Kapoor, former diplomat, also joins us on the show. Major General A.K. Sivach, former head of Territorial Army and geostrategic defense expert, also with us on the show. Last but not the least, Mr. Rabindra Sachdev, international affairs expert, also with us on the program. Thank you everyone for being a part of this conversation. Ambassador Sikri, what is at stake here for Canada? I don't even want to go down this road as to what is at stake here for India, because if you look at the GDPs of both the countries, it's like chalk and cheese. It's like, there's quite a disparity, to say the least, between our countries. And Canada is a big country, but a lot of its land is not inhabitable. There's a lot of wasteland in Canada. Compared to that, India is a fertile country. India is a country which is, of course, at the precipice of, displacing China as the number one, opportunity-based country for the world. How is Canada going to survive without India's support?
I think Canada has not bargained for this very firm, correct and strong stand taken by India, and Canada has come on to this. We have to just speculate on what Prime Minister Justin Trudeau's reasons are, why he felt the necessity to do this. Maybe because his internal popularity ratings are so low, maybe he's facing enormous pressure from the pro-Khalistani member of his coalition, because he's a minority government. But the point is that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau has not been able to offer any proof. And this is the amazing part. You cannot make such allegations against a friendly, big, fellow democratic country, fellow pluralistic country without any proof. Even today, our spokesperson has made a very strong statement and has explained what is going on. And I said that you have absolutely no proof whatsoever. And you have seen that the kind of actions that Prime Minister Trudeau is condoning by the pro-Khalistani supporters. He has condoned their attacks on Hindu temples. He has condoned the graffiti they're writing on Hindu temples. He's condoned the attacks on the Indian High Commission. He's condoned the attacks on the consulates. And, he is just not, he's talking about freedom of expression and freedom of conscience for these actions. But on the other side, when you look at the Quebec separatist groups, or you look at the truckers in Canada who went on strike, he would have no freedom of expression or freedom of conscience for them. They are put down with a strong hand, regardless. So I think there seems to be a great political purpose behind that, whether he's being egged on by certain countries, but it is very clear that what he is saying is without any basis and without any proof whatsoever. We've seen that this morning there's been another killing among the Khalistani group in Canada. And now Lawrence Bishnoi, who is in jail in India, is taking credit for it. Captain Amarinder Singh, former Chief Minister of Punjab, has said this 2 days ago, that India's got nothing to do with it. This is an internecine warfare between the Khalistani groups, I think the Khalistan Tiger Force in this case, and this has been going on for some time. And it looks like it's still continuing. But from there to bring it to India and to say that we are expelling India's senior diplomat, of course India expelled a senior diplomat in return, to say that we are, giving an advisory for Canadian citizens coming in India, we issued a very strong advisory in return. We said that we are advising Indian citizens because of politically condoned hate crimes. This is a very serious matter which nobody has been able to refute. I mean, this is amazing that, this is why it's happening. And we have to warn our citizens because of that. And today, as we know, even visas have been stopped. India has stopped issuing visas because the consular wing is the public interface of every high commission and embassy. And this is where, there can be a security lapse, there can be a security problem. So for the time being, we've stopped issuing visas to Canadian citizens. And of course, the Canadians have taken the same step here. So there would be, a real falling off of the exchanges between the two countries. But I think India has been quite right also, not only in saying very firmly what they're saying, but also in explaining itself to all the other countries. You know, there is the Five Eyes intelligence group, Justin Trudeau has put something before them, and we've seen very generalized statement from these groups, nothing actually, I mean, when you talk about a serious allegation, it is a serious allegation. But Justin Trudeau says it's a credible allegation of a potential link. Where is the proof? He himself doesn't have proof. His police has been investigating this killing for the last several months, but where is the proof? This is an old problem for Canada. Ever since the Kanishka bombings and before, in 1985 and before, they have been supporting Khalistani supporters in Canada. They've been allowing them these kind of activities. The reason for this is very difficult to fathom because they have the similar problem in their own country. But they have been doing this, and they have India has given them Interpol notices for Khalistani terrorists living there. Interpol notices where the facts have been verified by Interpol, and red corner notices, those have been ignored by the Canadian government. So all these actions throw a lot of suspicion and lead one to think that what could be the real motives for Justin Trudeau.
Right. General Sivach, your analysis of how is this going to affect and change and transform our security paradigm when it comes to dealing with Canada? You know, at this point in time, to the common Indian and perhaps to the government, there is not much of a difference between Pakistan and Canada.
Absolutely correct. Vineet, today Canada is becoming a hub center of ISI activity. You know, whatever is happening there in Canada, ISI is also involved in that. Now, that is the biggest threat which is there. In fact, this Khalistan movement which is taking place, the ISI is supporting through the drug money. Drug mafia is on the increase as far as Canada is concerned. Now, for his narrow domestic gain, Justin Trudeau is taking a support of a party which is have a links with Khalistan. That is Jagtar Singh, and that is why he is passing this anti-India, statement. He has no proof, yet he is saying that India is involved in this killing of basically the activist, which was a Khalistani, which there is already a warrant against by the NIA. Now, as far as the security of the country is concerned, what's happening is that we have a security ties with Canada. There are 15 countries chiefs which are meeting in Indo-Pacific, and this meeting is taking place in India on 26th and 27th. Their deputy chief, Major General Peter, is coming here, and he will be coming. That's a very good statement that he will be coming in and attending that. So that sent a very good message. But certainly the relationship are not to the best of it, because this Khalistan movement which is taking place in Canada has got its roots in Punjab, and from Punjab it goes back to Canada. And today the K cell of ISI is working in a big way from Canada, and they are the one which are motivating all this Sikh terrorist group to operate against India and pass this statement. Now, another question which is there is a lot of money has been collected by ISI and passed to the basically terrorist group. Now, one question was again asked from the MBA rep. Not too many Indians may be knowing it, that Canada is refusing to issue visa to the defense personnel who has served in Jammu and Kashmir. This is not now, for last about 15 years. And so anyone who has served in Jammu and Kashmir is denied visa. So to get a visa, there are certain officers who are veterans, who are retired. They may not be writing they have served in Jammu and Kashmir. Now that is the track record as far as Canada is concerned. They really don't bother about the Indian sentiment. And for its narrow gain, they are putting allegation and accusation. Now, remember that as far as the population is concerned, today the Sikh are about 7.7 lakh out of about 4 crore, and they represent approximately 2.2 of their population. Now, how does it make a difference that a small population like this has so much political influence? The reason is that in Canada, basically people vote for the quality of the candidate irrespective of his color or his religion or his creed. But as far as the Sikhs and Indians are concerned, they basically vote in bulk, and hence it has an impact in 12 seats or in Canada, and that's why they become a very important sort of political gain. And that is why today, whatever the Prime Minister is doing, Justin Trudeau, he's playing with a fire. He's not understanding how much he's harming.
Right,
The
sir.
free trade agreement, which was supposed to take place, now has been postponed for uncertain time.
You're
Now,
absolutely
that's
right,
another
sir.
issue which is there. My only concluded this thing is कि India needs Canada, but Canada needs India more than India needs Canada, because India is the
You're
fifth
absolutely right
largest
about that.
economy.
And Ambassador Kapoor, Canada at this point in time perhaps is, strategically alienating a very important democracy. And let's not forget what Justin Trudeau has been doing. There are people like Jagmeet Singh, who are political partners of Justin Trudeau. They do support him, they do help him. And that's exactly the reason why he is supporting this cause as vehemently he has in the past as well. But let's also put one thing into perspective, that his G20 tour was disastrous. He was not given a bilateral. He was, pulled aside for talks. And then, of course, his plane that developed a snag made him wait for a couple of days, which was also, of course, awkward if you're a Canadian. But even back home, not only the opposition, but people from his own party are saying that Justin Trudeau has embarrassed the country of Canada because there is no gravitas in whatever he says or whatever he does. Do you think this is perhaps an offhand attempt at creating that gravitas that has been missing from his prime ministership ever since he came on board?
Thank you, Vineet, for leading this important discussion, and thanks to NewsX also for bringing it in people's, mind and sight on a very important aspect. What you say may be correct to some extent, but it is, there is a long history to this. And there are many aspects to the current state of play in the relations between India and Canada. And I thank the earlier panelists for highlighting some of those. But for me, what is most important is for a Western country to permit and encourage the Khalistanis, including indicted terrorists, to operate freely in Canada, to allow, the gory depictions of violence, including the assassination of Prime Minister Indira Gandhi in public places, to allow attacks on the Indian diplomatic premises, and not provide proper or adequate security to the diplomatic personnel and premises of India, to allow posters to be put up, which include the head of mission of India, the heads of post, including the High Commissioner of India to Canada, and the Consul Generals as wanted people by the Khalistanis, is incitement to put the life of Indian diplomats at risk. Trying to include self-declared Khalistanis in official Canadian delegations to India and to other countries. And this is not only extremely shameful for any country, but bordering on aiding and abetting criminal activity. Even the most despotic countries would perhaps display far better sense and behavior than this, particularly vis-a-vis India. I belong to Jalandhar, where most of the immigrants to Canada come from, and the total population of Indians in Bharatiya in Canada is less than maybe 2 million, of which the majority is Hindu, which adds up to about.
We are talking about an extremely important agenda over here. There's obviously news coming in that the Canadian High Commission in New Delhi has more strength as compared to the Indian High Commission in Canada. So obviously there is going to be some effort towards that parity as well. So the escalations and of course the back and forth continues.
Thank you, Vineet. What I was saying was that I belong to Jalandhar, and Jalandhar is the source of most of the migration to Canada. Vast majority of the Punjabis in Canada belong to Jalandhar. The total population of Indians, Bharatiyas in Canada is less than 2 million, of which majority are Hindu, which is almost about 9 lakhs, and about 7 lakhs are Sikhs. Now, how many of the Sikh population actually support the Khalistanis? I've been told by my friends from the IIT and others who live in Canada that a very vast majority oppose it. but they are the huge silent majority. I guess if this is correct, they need to be sort of more proactive, more vocal. And the Hindu population, even though it is more than the Sikh population, can they unite and join with the majority of the Sikhs to fight against the Khalistanis in a proactive manner? How would that be brought about? Now, the other aspects which we need to think about and answer, the trade between India and Canada is not significant. It is less than 10 billion, it's about 8 billion. So the trade talks are not extremely critical or important for India or Canada at this point of time. But what is more important is to find out what are the funding sources for the Khalistanis. Is it China? Is it George Soros? Is it the Islamists? Is it others? Is it a combination of all these? And how can this be curtailed or dried up? Secondly, what are the funding support for the, how much funding support do the Khalistanis provide Justin Trudeau and his party? And how will, a situation arise where this funding support can be stopped? Now, the importance of Canada on the global stage is it's a Western country. It's one of the Five Eyes countries. The Five Eyes share a lot of intelligence. There's an important grouping. So India, with its very close relations currently with the US and particularly with the national security systems of the US and India being on a very good net, and the President of US and Prime Minister of India being very, very close, India has to now request very firmly to the US and to UK, for example, with the Hindu Prime Minister there, to bring to bear pressure on Canada rather than Canada being able to ask them to, tell India how to behave itself in this context. It has to be the other way around, because Canada is becoming, as we have seen, a hotbed of terrorism. And that needs to be brought about in a firm manner, as the spokesman did today, and highlighted in front of the world. Back to you, Vinny.
All right, so we've run out of time as well, but thank you everyone for being a part of this conversation.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.